Hello and welcome to my top 10 books of 2025. This was a very difficult list to put together, not only because I read a lot of books, I read 222 books in 2025, but also because I don't feel like I had too many all-time favorite reads this year. So even though I read a lot of graphic novels, I read a lot of older fantasy that didn't work for me. I read a lot of things for books clubs. Some worked, some didn't. There were lots of things to choose from, lots of things that I gave 5 stars, but when I was really sitting down and thinking of which books had a huge impact on me, it was a little harder to figure out which books meant the most to me overall, which is how I kind of like to build these top 10 videos. I want a book that I remember very fondly, that was a great reading experience, and that has really stuck with me. But I think I boiled it down to a solid 10, some of which are all-time favorites and I think will stand the test of time. Some which I think are really, really good, but I wouldn't put them in that all-time favorite spot. And 2 of them in my top 5, I read in the week running up to this video. One, I'm still in the middle of, which we'll talk about why I'm giving it 5 stars now. But without any further ado, let's get into it. So coming in at number 10 is a manga series that I was obsessed with in May. I read it kind of on a whim for a readathon, and then I couldn't stop, and that is Alice in Borderland. This is a manga series all about a couple of teens that get whisked into this sort of horrifying, almost like Squid Game-like arena system where you have to collect these playing cards by playing these life or death games, and they're trying to escape. And the books focus on them not only in the games, but outside of the games. It's very imaginative, very scary. The games themselves are very intense. They're often life or death. You have to be very smart. The different types of games, some of them it's strength is going to get you somewhere. Some of them it's teamwork will get you somewhere. Some of them smarts will get you somewhere. So there are all kinds of different types of games. They were all very interesting to read about. That was often my favorite thing, was to learn about how to play the games and then people strategizing how to play the games. If you have seen the Devil's Plan game on Netflix, it's a game show, and it's one of my favorite, it's my favorite reality show of all time. The games are so interesting and I want to be on it so bad, but I do not speak Korean, so I would be at a major disadvantage there. But it reminded me of that. And not only are these kids trying to collect these cards and figure out how to escape, they're also trying to figure out what happened. How did they suddenly get here? And I read the first volume and could not stop. I would, as soon as the hold came in at my library, I'd drop everything and read the omnibus editions, which are 3 or 2, I think 2 of the volumes together. And I would just drop everything and read those 2 volumes and then wait for the next one to come in. I was obsessed with it. It's very, very good. Coming in at number 9 is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is also a fairly recent read. I read this in October. This is an historical fiction novel set during World War II in France and the German occupation in France. It's about 2 sisters and how they go about trying to survive the war. It's a book about normal people having to find the courage to do things that they never thought they would be brave enough to do. I remember reading this and thinking I haven't taken a proper full breath. I'm reading this and holding my breath because the situations that they're in are so intense. I sobbed through the last 40 pages of the book. And I just think it's a really powerful read. I thought, talked about things like the German occupation in France that I hadn't read in World War II novels. So I thought it was kind of not rehashing over the same things that I've read before, but it was trying to take a new, different perspective. Number 8 is a fantasy book by M.L. Wong. That is Blood Over Brighthaven. I read this during the Shelf This Book Club. I forget exactly which month, maybe August? September? I think September. This was nominated for that book club by my friend Danielle at Danielle Reads, and I absolutely love this book. This is a dark academia book about a young woman whose name I cannot remember, is the first ever woman to make it into this school for mages. There's a really fun magic system that was explored a lot, but I actually wish like there were more books in this series to explore the magic. But I think this will be a standalone novel. I don't think there will be any more, and because of other reasons, I don't think there will be any more. But the magic is really interesting. It's almost based off of like a coding system of like you're sort of transcribing these like if-then statements, like if this happens then this, if this then this, and that's how you like create a spell that like works properly. And this woman is basically trying to prove herself in this situation, and then she makes some discoveries that she didn't know about her world, and things kind of go from there. This was also a very powerful book. I definitely cried at the end. I really loved all the things that the author had to say in this book. I think it is a little heavy-handed at times, but I also don't think it's bad for the author to be like, I really want people to understand this thing. Like, I need them to realize that this is the point of the book, and I don't often think that's bad. So I really enjoyed this book, but I think it's at number 8 because of that sort of heavy-handed nature of some of the writing. But I definitely love this book, and I will be reading The Sword of Kaigen, I hope, in 2026, because it's my friend Danielle's favorite book of all time. And after reading this one, I was like, yeah, obviously I'm going to read The Sword of Kaigen. And then anything else that M.L. Wong comes out with, I definitely want to check out. Number 7 is a manga series that I did not read in totality in 2025, but I did finish it in 2025, and that is Tokyo Tarareba Girls. This is by the author of Princess Jellyfish, which is a manga series I read before having a booktube channel. Absolutely love it. Cute romance-centered manga series all about like fashion and this girl and this boy being in love. So cute. And then this is a series that the same author had written later, and I finally got around to it. It's 9 volumes, and I loved it. This is about a group of 3 women who are in their 30s. They feel like they're past their prime, and they worry that they're never going to get married. They're never going to find someone to love them, and all about how those feelings about themselves, how they let their self-worth be kind of beaten down by where they are in life. It just leads them to make some pretty interesting, sketchy decisions, and all about how they kind of figure out who they want to actually be. And I think this is a really heartwarming series, not only about celebrating women and women friendship, but also kind of challenging some of those ways in which we as women value ourselves. Like, we put so many limits on what we should amount to in life and what makes a successful life for a woman. And I think this did a really great job at being like, hey, we should double think these. Like, what does it mean to be successful in life as a woman? And how should we think of ourselves as women, especially as we age? And it's really heartwarming. Definitely shed a couple tears towards the end. And I really love this series. I heard that I think she's like revisiting the series in like a new manga series, which I'm so excited about. Okay, number 6, We Spread by Ian Reid. I love Ian Reid. I read his book, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, a few years ago, and I absolutely loved it. And I didn't know anything about this book before I picked it up, and I just read it blindly, and I adored it. I read it so quickly, like in a day, and I really love it, and it makes me want to kind of finish out his catalog of books sooner rather than later. I think he only has one book that I haven't read yet that I want to finish. But We Spread is about a woman who is being taken to a nursing home. It's like a very small nursing home. I think there's like 5 or 6 residents living there, and she's being taken there by her family because she's starting to have gaps in her memory and not really remember everything that's happening, and they're afraid for her, and so they're like, you know, you wanted to do this, so we're taking you to this home. Don't you remember? Like, we know all this. And she's like, I don't really remember what's happening. And as you're reading, this book is like written in such an interesting way where it's like these little vignettes, and time passes kind of strangely in the book. Sometimes one vignette goes to another and it's like just a couple minutes later. Sometimes you're going to the next one and it's like, oh, it's morning time. And so it's written as if you're this woman who's like losing track of things in her mind, is like, I feel like things are off. I don't feel like time is passing like it should. And it's about her having this feeling of like something is wrong in this nursing home, but she can't fully trust her own mind. And then it goes on to like have so much great commentary about things like work and creativity and art and retirement and things like that in this like little bitty book that is like not that many pages. It's such a good book. I really like it. It had a really strong impact on me. Definitely will be one that I revisit at some point, because I think reading it again, because it is a little weird and jumps around a little, I think reading it again would give me more out of it. So I really, really loved it. I would highly recommend you just kind of go in without looking too much more into it other than what I've said, and seeing if you'd like it. It's creepy without being like super scary. It's not like horror, but it definitely feels like a very eerie thriller. Okay, now we're into the top 5. My number 5 pick is You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pliego. This is a book that I read this past week. It's a mystery thriller that you will be seeing a more reading vlog type experience in January later on when I have that vlog done. I absolutely loved it. This is a debut novel by the author, and it's all about these authors that have been called to an island writing retreat by a famous mystery author. They all write mysteries as well, and they are called there, and then wouldn't you know it, people start to go missing and they think there's murder afoot. It's so fun. It feels puzzly. It feels smart. The characters are interesting. There are a lot of characters, and the author does an amazing job of like really settling you in with them, so you know who everyone is and you kind of have an idea of like how they might be connected, because there's a lot of characters that you're just thrown in with at once at this retreat. It's so good. It's eerie. The vibes are so good. This house is interesting. It reminds me of like Clue, where it's like mystery with a little bit of humor thrown in there, but very thrilling. Lots of twists and turns. I was able to piece together one thing in the book before it told it to me, but there were some other twists that like I did not see coming. It was really good. Like, I took it a little slow the first half of the book, and then once I got to the halfway point, I just did not want to put it down, and I just sped through the rest of it. So good. I will definitely be reading her book that's going to come out in 2026, because it's about people being like trapped in a library, and that sounds really good. I hope it's just as fun, just as smart, and just as good of like a mystery that you feel like you can put together the pieces and figure it out. It is so good. I would highly recommend this one, especially if you love books like And Then There Were None. This is the book that I've read that feels the closest to And Then There Were None. Number 4 is Shift by Hugh Howey. This is the sequel to Wool in his Silo trilogy. This is such a good book. It's a prequel slash sequel. It's not fully just a prequel. So the book Wool, we learn that humanity has had to escape something that has happened on the surface. The surface of the earth is no longer livable, and they live in this silo that is like deep underground, and the society is structured into higher levels are more of your like your white collar workers, a little bit more privileged people, and the lower down you go, the lower into like the dregs of society where people are like farmers, laborers, and they live like further down. And things happen, and some characters start to figure out that things may not be all that they seem in this silo situation. Then you get Shift, and Shift both takes you back to the start and kind of tells you how humanity got into this position and what's going on a little bit, gives you more mysteries, and then gives a little bit leading up into what will be the third book. So something that's happening after the end of Wool, at the end of Shift, to get us ready for the next book. So Hugh Howey writes these books in like 3 like novellas, basically, like put together. So each story kind of focuses on a character, but then there's also some like interwoven storylines that kind of blend them all together. These are great books. When I'm reading them, I get so easily sucked in, and I just want to know what's going on. There are some really like good moments where I'm going like, oh my goodness, like I had no idea that was happening. I had no idea this is happening this way, and I want to know what exactly is happening and why certain things are happening. It's really, really good, and I plan to finish out the series as like a priority for like early 2026 because I need to know how this is all gonna end. Number 3 is a book I haven't finished yet, which feels wild to say, but I feel confident because I have seen the movie that this book is based off of, and that is The Shining. I am about 66% of the way through The Shining, and I am terrified, and I don't want to put it down. I have seen the movie twice, so I know the movie version, and I'm obsessed with the book. It is so much better than the movie. Like, the characters are so much more fleshed out, and I'm suddenly understanding so much more of why things are happening. If you don't know what The Shining is about a family, the Torrance family. Jack and Wendy are the parents, and then their young boy, Danny, who's about 5. Danny has what is known as the Shining, which means he is a little bit telepathic and a little bit can see the future. Danny has always had these things where he just kind of uncannily knows things that either people have been thinking or that things have happened, and he like will get really worked up when his parents are like fighting because he like knows that they're thinking about getting divorced. So he has that going on. And then his dad is a school teacher, wannabe writer. He has sold some stories to magazines and gotten some acclaim, and he's struggling with this play that he's writing, and he falls on hard times, gets fired from his job, and is sort of saved by a friend who pulls some strings and gets him as a job to be the caretaker at a hotel as it's like closed down for the season. This is in the Colorado mountains, and it's like this mountain hotel that's like, in its past, it's been like super famous. Presidents have stayed there, but it has some darkness in its past as well. And so Jack and Wendy and Danny are going to live there to keep the place heated, take care of like the roof and, you know, do any like handiwork that needs to be done, take care of the lawn and the hedges. And as they are staying over the winter there, things start to go wrong, and you realize that there is something about the Overlook that is dark, to put it lightly. like I said, I'm 66% of the way through with it. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's like a Stephen King masterpiece. I've never read a Stephen King that's this good. I'm so scared of it. Yeah, I don't want to put it down. I just want to read it, and then if I feel like I'm too scared, I'll read up to the scary part and then like put it down and come back to it later when I'm less like in the moment. What the book is doing that the movie could not do is fleshing out the characters of Danny and Jack. Wendy, I still think kind of has a backseat in the story, but she is fleshed out much more than she is in the movie. But Jack and Danny are the centerpiece of this novel, mostly because of Jack's past with his father and his relationship to his son Danny, and the weirdness that is going on between them and causing tension between their relationship. Jack trying to fight his tendencies that he kind of gained from his father in his parenting with Danny, and there is a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and it's really, really well written. Like, it just has that classic Stephen King voice that is so creepy, that's so evocative, and even if the ending was a flop, I would still love it. Like, this is a book I'm thinking of keeping because I think I want to read it again. And I've seen the movie twice, which is what's wild to me. Like, I kind of know where everything's going, and yet I still, like, can't put it down. So, it's great. It's so good. I'm so glad I read it. Or am reading it. But it definitely deserves this number 3 spot. When compared with everything else so far on this list, it definitely earns its place at number 3. Number 2, I'm a little shocked is only number 2, but that's Wind and Shriek by Brandon Sanderson. I loved this book. This is the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive. This finishes up the first half of the Stormlight Archive series. It's a massive book. It's one of the longest books I've ever read. And I'm not going to lie, I don't mind that it's that long because I love the world of the Stormlight Archive, Roshar, and I don't mind slogging through slower bits because I really find it interesting even when it's a little slow. I know there was like a lot of controversy. A lot of people like hate it and are like, I'm kind of done with Stormlight Archive and I'm never going to read it again. And I totally understand why. I totally get that. Sanderson tried a new structure in this book that I think didn't work for a lot of people. And I don't know why it does, other than some of the things that I love about fantasy books are done so strongly in Stormlight Archive. And that is, the fantasy world is so rich. There are constantly secrets and magical creatures and aspects to the magic and gods and prophecies and visions and all these things going on that just make me feel like I'm on an adventure. And I don't get that from every fantasy book I read. I don't feel like I'm like uncovering new interesting things, it seems like, at every turn. The ending of this book, I specifically remember because I did a full spoiler review of Wind and Truth on my channel. So if you're interested, I'll try to remember to link it down below. And I remember like doing my final like update of that vlog after I'd finished it and going like, this happened and this is going to have consequences, but I don't know what the consequences are going to be, but I know it's going to like have really big consequences, and this happened, and what's that going to mean for these things over here? And like, that's what I love, is like when I'm reading a book and I'm like, oh no, like something has happened. I'm nervous. This is going to change everything. And I don't know how, and I don't know exactly what it means, but I know it's going to be big. And I trust Sanderson to deliver on those promises that he's saying this is going to be a big deal. And I know it's going to be. And because The Stormlight Archive is connected to his other series within the Cosmere, which is his overarching Marvel-like fantasy series structure where they kind of intertwine and interact with one another. Because of that, I think I get something out of his Cosmere books that I don't get from other fantasy series that are standalones. And I think part of that is just because I do think the sum of the Cosmere as a whole is bigger than each part. I don't know if Wind and Truth would be as strong if it wasn't connected to other stories. And now I'm wondering, well, what does this story and everything crazy that just happened, what does this have to do with all the other things? It's why Rhythm of War was my top book last year, because just nothing right now holds a candle to that. And I just really enjoy being in the Cosmere and enjoying these experiences, discovering these worlds and how they're connected, and making connections as I'm reading other books, and how is this going to affect this, and how is this going to change things. I love it so much. So I totally understand if you hated it, but I loved it. I loved it so much. But I didn't love it the most of any book on here. There's a book that stole my heart more than any of the others. Number 1 is Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey. This is a book set in the Alaska wilderness about a woman who is a struggling mother. She's a single mom, and she doesn't feel like she's very good at being a mom. It's hard for her to do all the mom things of caring for a young child, being a stable parent, and she's feeling a little hopeless in this small Alaskan town until things change. I don't know how much I want to say about this other than that there's a lot of magical realism, and I love it so much. This is definitely a book I will reread. It's only been like 8 months since I've read it, and I'm already feeling the itch to read it again because I loved it so much. Eowyn Ivey writes gorgeously. She also wrote The Snow Child, which is one of my favorite books of all time, and I haven't read that in like 10 years, and I really should. I love it so much. She writes a lot of books set in Alaska, and she writes that Alaskan wilderness really well. And Blackwood's Blue Sky, I think, is just so atmospheric, tense. Even though it feels kind of slow, it reads really quickly. Like, it takes its time. It has a lot to say about like people. There's some intertwining of fairy tale in there. I don't want to say which one in case it feels spoilery, but there's a little bit of a fairy tale retelling in there. And it's just such a good book. It's a book I haven't stopped thinking about in a really long time, and it highly deserves that spot of like favorite. It will go down as like one of my favorite books of all time, up there next to The Snow Child. And it's a book that I think I'll come back to a few times over my lifetime. So those are all the books that I read in 2026 that were my favorites. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please let me know if you enjoyed any of them, and also what your favorite book was of 2025. I am always looking for recommendations, so if you let me know what your favorite was, maybe you'll find me checking it out in 2026. You never know. I'm so excited for all the reading that we're going to do in the year 2026, and I hope that I'm going to come to you at the end of the year and have some more amazing books to tell you about. I hope you'll check out any of these books if they're interesting, and thank you so much for being here. If you're a new watcher, I hope you hit subscribe so you can check out all the fun things that I have planned in the new year. I have a brand new TBR game that I'm going to be playing, as well as some really fun goals that are connected to a game with points and prizes and things like that. So I'll link those videos down in the description if you're interested in checking those out. And yeah, stick around if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.